All right. Hi, everybody. This is Tom with Hidden Beats. And today we have Josh Sahunta. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Sahunta.
Sahunta? Okay.
Yeah.
I always screw those things up.
It's all good.
So this is our second time actually chatting with you. First time on video. We talked to you back in December, I think it was December 2020.
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
Or October 2020. I just pulled
Oh,
it up
okay,
here
yeah.
quickly. Yeah.
It's like just the beginning of winter, I guess.
So how have things been?
Good. I mean, honestly, it's been a roller coaster the past, I guess, couple years now, I guess we're coming up to. Has just been so much adapting. There's so many things changing in the industry right now. You know, for a little bit there, we were able to do live shows, and now we're kind of back in a gray area where we're not really able to do shows. And honestly, it's just been a lot, yeah, a lot of adapting. I was able to play some shows this summer, and it was amazing. It was great to be back out there again and see people in person. And then that quickly obviously shut down again, and we're back here in this studio, and I work here pretty much 9 to 5 every day, doing production and working on other artists' music. So when things slow down for me, I help other artists and their careers kind of keep moving. So
At least you're always doing something.
exactly.
Yeah. So for new listeners or new people seeing this, how would you describe your music to somebody?
I always like to describe it as basically if you took The Weeknd, John Mayer, and Ed Sheeran and put them in a collaborative band, the kind of music that they would come up with is pretty similar to what I do. So it's very guitar, it's very guitar driven R&B, but like very lyric heavy. So like the lyrics are very I would say that my lyrics are more of the Ed Sheeran side, where I'm leaning into heavy storytelling in a song that wouldn't necessarily feel like it should be storytelling. But that's kind of what I'm going for.
Okay. I mean, I always love a good story myself, so that
Exactly.
works for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So since we last talked, your career's definitely, risen quite a bit. You have an EP, several singles. You've been super busy. How like we were just talking about being busy, but personally for you, how did the pandemic affect you staying busy with your own music, I should say?
Yeah, you know, the biggest hit that I took was right at the beginning. I was supposed to go on tour in England again. I went and toured there in 2019, and I was supposed to do a follow-up tour. I had a few shows booked. I was actually going to be working with a booking agency this time, and playing a few bigger shows than I did last time. And so that really that was really discouraging right off the gate, in the pandemic, getting that canceled. And there was a few more local festivals that I was booked at that I'd never been booked at before, and so it was just shaping up to be a really, really great year. And then basically the pandemic hit and everything went online, and I kind of saw a niche open up a little bit where people were looking for producers. They had all this free time, they were writing all these songs, and uh, they were needing producers, but a lot of the studios were closed at the time. And so I started basically doing Zoom production sessions for different artists. And I now have like a bunch of recurring clients that keep coming back to me now, even though things are opened again, just because they liked working with me and we had a really good system going. And so honestly, like I'd be lying if I said the pandemic was entirely awful for me, because in many ways it allowed me to tap into music production, which is something I've done for my own songs for a really long time. And it allowed me to kind of like monetize that in a new way. And that's basically what I do for a living now is production. And then all my extra time is for my own project. And I'm still putting out music, of course, but yeah, I spend a lot of my time writing and producing for other people now.
Do you find that going down that route has helped your music at all? Like, are you able to grow a bit differently?
Yeah, it just opens a whole new area of um, business opportunities, I would say. The thing that is really sometimes frightening about being a musician is that you can often find yourself very closed in terms of areas in which you can make money. You know, like for most people, it's live shows. And so I know a lot of musicians, unfortunately, that when shows closed down, they were basically not making money anymore. And you know, they weren't touring, they weren't playing shows, they had their regular gig at the bar cancel on them. And so a lot of them, because they were really just fixated into the live music realm, the pandemic really screwed them. So I think it just really forced me to lean more heavily into the different aspects that I've built, which production happened to be the biggest one. And I think that's helped me in my own career because I'm learning so many different production techniques now that I never had in my arsenal before, that I can now apply to my own music. And it just makes me a bit more versatile and allows me to do a bit more things. So
Were you able to connect with fans and stuff a lot differently, I guess, since there's everything's on social media now?
definitely, yeah. Live streaming was a big one. You know, I mean, that's pretty much the only way we were able to do shows for a while. So I was live streaming quite a bit. Engaging a lot more on social media was definitely a big one too. Um, I've never really been a huge fan of social media, but I really dove in deep over the pandemic and just made sure that I was on there all the time and like interacting with people and keeping up with everybody, and just putting out singles as opposed to albums, because it's just like you kind of stay on people's radar a little bit longer that way. So I was doing that quite a lot. And yeah, I mean, that's still kind of the plan right now, is to just keep in touch online until we can actually fully comfortably have shows again.
Hopefully one of these days, yeah.
Yeah, man. It's been too long.
I know, like, I work a lot with local shows, musicians and stuff like that too. So it's we had a small stint of shows and then all of a sudden they were gone again, which kind of sucked.
Exactly. It was almost worse the second time.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
you got back into it and then you're like, oh crap, now we're missing it
exactly.
again. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was brutal.
So we're mainly here today to talk about your new single, "This Party Sucks."
Yes.
How did that come about?
That was just a product, honestly, of Zoom collaboration. I was actually supposed to go to LA and work with a producer friend of mine named Edgar Vargas, and he and I did that song together, and we wrote it with an artist in England by the name of Robbie J, and he co-wrote it with me and Edgar. And it's funny because we were on this Zoom call, and I'm here in Edmonton, Alberta, and you know, Robbie's in England, Edgar's in LA. And so this song was entirely written from different parts of the world over Zoom. It wasn't, you know, your typical songwriting production session where you're like sitting in the studio and you're experiencing all of it and it's just like this cool moment. You know, we definitely lost out on a little bit of that, but I think the song still came out brilliantly, and like it was everything I could have asked for. And we just put our minds together over internet, and none of us had the premium Zoom option, so we had to keep relaunching it after half an hour or whatever. So it was just very DIY, so to speak.
But I mean, that adds a different feeling and a different kind of way it kind of comes together too.
Definitely.
So my writer put down a note here that says she wanted me to ask if the song is meant to serve as a commentary on modern dating and what you think about that.
That's a great question. So I actually put out an EP last year called The Worst Year, and the entire premise of that EP was this idea of like everything is different now. And I wrote this song called Love on the Internet, and that is like my 2020 dating song, and just like what that looks like now, and it's just all online. And I feel like this song, This Party Sucks, it's funny because we didn't write it thinking that we would still be in this pandemic, you know? So we're like, this song's gonna be cool because when it comes out, we'll be able to like go do things again. And that's not at all what happened. And so now it's almost like a joke, because it's like all our parties now are like Zoom parties. I literally heard a friend of mine, he sent me a picture the other day, and it was him and his like work colleagues having a staff party over Zoom. And then he quoted "This party sucks," and I lost it. I was like, this is the funniest thing ever, because this is literally what we've come to now with, gatherings and hanging out with people. And so yes and no. I feel like we didn't want the song to be a pandemic song, but at the same time, it kind of is now. So
Mhm.
it's one of those weird things.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've had a few of those work parties where it's like, and we're just gonna sit here with Zoom call.
And play like some weird game where you know what I mean? It's like
Hmm.
everybody finds those little games that they play over Zoom, and I'm like, this is lame.
Yeah. It just makes me sit back and think of like, man, that, yeah, it, it really is.
Yeah.
Wow. So you recently, well, you had your singles Kool-Aid and Cyanide.
Yes.
Is there something you're building towards with the way you're releasing these things?
Yeah, so there's gonna be two more singles after This Party Sucks, and in May I'm gonna be releasing um probably actually it is the largest body of work that I've released to this point. It's a full album. The largest project I've released so far is 7 songs, so this one's gonna be 13. And I've just booked a venue for a release party, and I'm hoping by May we can have a big concert, because I'm hoping that it'll be a sold out show, and I'm going to put a lot of promo into it. But honestly, it's like there was a part of me that didn't even want to try,
Yeah.
because it's like, okay, come May, who knows what'll happen. But I also just feel like if I just live in constant hesitancy to do anything, I'm never going to do anything. So if we end up having to postpone it, we'll postpone it. But I'm aiming and hoping that by May we can have a big show.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, if you never take the leap, you're just going to be stuck at that point.
Exactly.
So do you have any extra cool collaborations coming up with this? I know you've done stuff with I think Tianda is her name.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a song. It's gonna be the last single before the album, and I wrote that with another artist in the UK. I've actually been doing quite a few productions with writers and artists from the UK lately, and it's not even intentional. It just kind of happened. And I've loved every single song that I've done with UK artists. So there's something in the water over there. So um that song is called Flowers Don't Bloom, and I'm so excited for that one too. And yeah, but that's it for major collaborations until the album, at least.
We actually just did interview recently, and the topic of UK music came up too, and it's definitely like a whole different atmosphere for that. Even writers, concerts, everything. People just take music differently over there.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you said that. Like, it's it's funny because when I toured there the first time, I didn't really know. Like, I spent a part of my childhood in England. Like, my mom's born and raised. I have dual citizenship, and so like England is a huge part of my life. And but I'd never done music there until 2019 when I toured, and it was crazy to see the difference in the music culture there compared to where I live here in Alberta, where um the fun thing to do on a Saturday night pretty much anywhere in England is to go see live music. And it's not even necessarily live music that you know of, like not bands that you know of. Like, people will go to some random pub or a random venue and just see what's on that night, because they trust that that venue brings in good music. So they'll just go have a drink and see some live music. And I found that when I was playing there, I was playing in some different pubs and stuff, and it would be a packed house. Like, there would not be a single empty seat in the entire venue. And everybody would come and they would be like dead silent while I was doing my set or while somebody else was doing their set. And they were just so attentive, and like nobody was rowdy, no one was talking. And then they would all clap for you at the end of the song. And you're like, I'm kind of just like happy hour music, and everybody's just like so fixated on you. And I feel like I can count on one hand how many times I've had an experience like that, at least in Edmonton, where people literally will just go out just to hear new music and find a new artist. It just doesn't happen as much here. And that's honestly, like, it was something that I appreciated so much about the UK scene, is that like they have literal music fans and people who won't just buy concert tickets to go see, you know, Bruno Mars at the big stadium, but like they want to go to the little hole in the wall pubs to see who's up and coming, because you never know who's going to be the next big artist that blows up who's playing in these little pubs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's how Ed Sheeran kind of went. Like, I can't think of the amount of people that must have seen him live in a little dingy pub who probably had no idea that he would be arguably one of the biggest artists in the world in a few years' time. So it's just really cool to see the support there.
Yeah, and I find I get to talk to a lot of artists doing stuff like this, so it's interesting to see. And I've always wondered what it is that North America on its own is just lacking when it comes to something like that.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just different here. Like, we have a lot more heavy uh push on things like sports and stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love sports. And I watch it religiously, but I wish there was the same amount of excitement here for music as there
Mm-hmm.
is for sports, because, you know, like you can go see, I mean, maybe bad example because they're absolute trash right now, but the Oilers, um, like any night of any single game, there will be a full house. I mean, obviously with capacity restrictions right now, there's not, but like every single game, there will be an absolutely full stadium there. And it's like, man, if like half of these people would be into like local music, like think about how many sold out shows we'd be having here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, again, like Oilers and Edmonton are very
Yeah, I mean, I'm a hockey fan too. I get it.
yes.
Trust me. Like I'm based in Ottawa, so the Sens. I mean, I don't even know what to say about the Sens, really.
I mean, all you need to say is you're wearing the Blackhawks hat. That's all I needed to know.
Yeah.
That says everything.
Yeah, exactly. So on a more personal note, last time we talked, you were preparing your wedding and getting ready for all that stuff. It's a happy anniversary, I guess, at this point. And
Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
how has it been balancing, you know, personal life and, you know, work/music life?
That's a great question. I have honestly been so much happier, and like I've just felt so much lighter since all of that happened. I've always been a workaholic. Like I've always had a really hard time not working or taking time off. And even like I always found like vacations even were just such a miserable experience because I just couldn't wait to get back to my desk and like couldn't wait to get back to work. And I think since getting married and like reprioritizing my life, one of the biggest lessons I've learned is when to just shut everything off and just be present. And um and I think that's such a valuable lesson for like anybody to learn, is like you don't always need to be attached to your phone. And of course, like emails and stuff are important, and uh obviously that's how we continue to make money and make business happen. But there's a point every evening where at this point now I'm throwing on that do not disturb, and unless it's an emergency, no emails or calls will come through to my phone. And that has just that has reduced my overall anxiety so much. And just to be able to like set that boundary for myself and say, you know, like 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock every day, anything important or whatever can wait until tomorrow. And yeah, and it's just been such a great lesson for me that I wish I learned sooner in my life. Just when to shut things off, when to take a break, when to step back. I've had a much easier time just relaxing and like even just going on vacation, and whether it's somewhere else or even just a staycation type of thing. I think, yeah, overall, that's probably one of the biggest lessons I've taken out of the pandemic, is like when to rest and what rest really looks like. And yeah.
I mean, I still have those issues. My wife tells me I need to get off my phone sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, me too.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say I'm perfect, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a little hard. Like, so Hidden Beats is more than just interviews and things like that. So I've always got something on the go, and I've done the same thing. I've had to take a point where, okay, it's time to shut down, and you know, be here versus being at my desk and figuring that out.
Definitely.
It's been hard, but you know, it's
It's a work in progress, right? Like no one's ever going to be perfect at it. And, you know, there's some times in our lives that are going to be way busier than others. But
Mhm.
I think just that mental challenge of like saying like, okay, well, my inbox is full of emails right now, but it's also 5 o'clock and I've worked my butt off today. I can answer those emails tomorrow morning. Like no one's dying. And if they are dying, they're not going to be calling me. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
I've definitely, yeah, I've started to take that into consideration too. Like I get a fair amount of emails and it's going to be detrimental if I can't get to it tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, like even just in general, like one of the most it's seemingly neglected things during this pandemic has seems to have been like mental health. And like, you know, that's such an important topic that doesn't really seem to be getting addressed as much as it should right now, with people being in isolation and, you know, not seeing their friends, not being able to. I heard I think BC, they just like indefinitely extended their gym closures. And like, you know, exercise is so important for mental health. And it's like now people can't work out and it's cold out, so it's like no one really
Mhm.
wants to go outside either. So it's just like really hard. It's like how do you cope with all of these constant hoops to jump through when it comes to taking care of yourself mentally? And because I mean you know, your mental health affects everything. Like stress is like probably one of the biggest killers in our society, and it's like that's one of the things that's having the least attention paid to it right now. So yeah.
Yeah, we're in the same boat with Ontario being like locked down again
Oh
for
man.
nothing. I don't even think there's no gyms, there's no indoor activities, I think, at all at this point.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like Alberta's probably not too far behind you guys. I feel like we end up doing everything you guys do anyways.
Yeah. It just kind of it transitions from one end to the other of the country.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully at some point things will clear up again. Personally, for me, my mental health has been decent. Like I don't
Good.
really go out and do much anyways. I'm always
Yeah, yeah.
working at something, so I've
Right.
been able to focus and better myself kind of internally while sitting at my desk, still doing
That's
the
awesome.
stuff
That's
that I
what we
do.
want. That's
Yeah.
what we want.
So coming out of the pandemic, hopefully, do you have? So we talked about the new release coming up and hopefully the big show. Do you have tours and stuff that you want to get on right away, hopefully, or do you have a plan?
Yeah, I really want to reboot the whole UK tour. And the nice thing actually is that I've built a lot more connections there over the pandemic that I want to really tap into when touring is back up and running. And I've also made a few connections in Germany as well. So like, you know, with like Reeperbahn Festival and stuff like that, like there's a huge music scene in Germany. And um I kind of just want to explore that a bit more and definitely spend a lot more time in England and figuring out that market. And um but yeah, I want to do more like Eastern Canada as well. I find that I've toured Western Canada twice now, and you definitely spend the majority of the time driving,
Yeah.
and you don't really hit anything in between your drives. Like if even say for example I'm going um Edmonton to Vancouver, you know what I mean? So it's like you'll hit Calgary, you'll hit I guess Canmore, Jasper, Banff or whatever, and then you'll hit like a couple small towns in BC. But it's just like such a long drive, and the amount of shows that you'll probably play along the way are not that many.
Hmm.
Whereas definitely like out east, it's like there's you can hit a lot more in a shorter amount of time. So that's definitely something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. And yeah, but I can't wait to go back on tour. So we'll figure that out.
Well, hopefully we'll get to see you at some point. And
Hopefully, yeah, I'll let you know.
I have some staff members kind of strewn throughout. So I actually have a photographer based in Edmonton right now too. So
Okay, cool.
so I can get her out hopefully once things gets popping.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be great.
Hmm. One of the key questions I like to ask everybody is do you have any advice that you were giving coming up that's really kind of held fast to you and that you really look at as a major key point for you?
Yeah, funny enough, right before this call, I just had a really long venting session with a good friend of mine who's become a mentor for me. And he just kind of reminded me of this. And every time I hear this piece of advice, I just am like, man, like it feels so good to hear that. And what that piece of advice is just like really identifying what your goals are. Like not shallow goals, but like real deep heart goals. Like what are you pursuing music for? What is the reason behind it? You know, like for me, I always really get caught up in this idea that like because I didn't really have a lot of support starting out with music. Like my family wanted me to classic Brown family wanted me to be a doctor, wanted me to be a lawyer, surgeon. Like my mom's family, for example, like they're all lawyers. All my mom's siblings are all lawyers. And so it's like very uh high standards, I guess. And then on my dad's side, like all of my family on his side are like very blue collar, like, you know, electricians, mechanics, et cetera, et cetera. And like my dad wanted me to be the first one on his side to like be an academic. And like my mom's side is like, oh, we're all lawyers. You should be a lawyer too. So I never really had like a lot of support with music. And I find that that kind of made me a little bit bitter. And it made me really strive to want to prove everybody wrong. Like I had this momentum that was like, I'm going to do this so that I can prove my family wrong. I'm going to do this so that I can prove everybody who's ever doubted me wrong. And that is so toxic and it's so draining and exhausting. And you will never feel satisfied if that's your MO. Um, and so what I've really just tried to focus in on is like, what can I do every day that leads me closer to being able to do what I love? And what I love is like just being able to put out music that I love and, you know, spread positivity and help people through whatever they're going through. And I love doing interviews like this and just having access to doing more things like that. And um ultimately, you know, like I'm a married dude. I want to have kids someday. I want to have a family. You know, touring around the world nonstop and partying with celebrities isn't really the type of vibe that I'm going for. So, you know, it's just like remembering those things, remembering like what is it you want and what can you do every day that can get you even a little bit closer to that. So I would say that's my biggest piece of advice.
Okay, that's a good one. I always ask for these because I know, you know, people watching, they might try to pick out piece of advice. So it's good to have something from established artists like yourself that they can hold to.
For sure.
Is there another question I like to ask too, just because everyone likes to know? Is there something on your current playlist that people will be surprised that you listen to?
Oh, great question. Yeah, actually, I have kind of discovered a newfound love for country music.
Okay.
And it's mostly because that's literally all my wife listens to. Her entire playlist is like country music and then maybe like one of my songs sprinkled in there and then country music. So I've actually been listening a lot to this artist named Thomas Rhett,
Yeah.
and I find his songwriting just so beautiful and like so like like I said earlier about the storytelling and stuff like that. Like I feel like country music really allows for a lot of storytelling and he's so great. He's just an absolute master at that, of just like really making you be able to visualize exactly what he's talking about.
Hmm.
And yeah, I've been learning a lot even just from listening to artists like him and just how they tell stories through songs and the rhymes they use. And like sometimes he fits in a sentence so beautifully that I'm like, how the heck did he do that? And even just bringing that into my own sound, which is more like pop R&B, it's like, how can I bring in these little countryisms into my own sound? And it's just, yeah, I'd say that's probably the big surprise one for me.
Country is always one that, you know, you find the right artists and listen to the story they tell. They are storytellers. That's what they do basically.
Exactly. It's not all beers and pickup trucks.
I mean, there's a good portion of that,
There
which don't
is,
get me
there
wrong.
definitely is, there definitely is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Do you have any fun stories of, tours that you were previously on, like wild stories that people might find interesting?
Oh man, it's not a tour story per se, but it's a music related travel story. So I went to Uganda a few years back to teach music basically on a boarding school for kids whose parents have either left or abandoned them or passed away. So they're basically raised by this school. And I went there to teach music, and I'd never been anywhere in Africa before. And so obviously like the culture and everything was so different from where it is here. And we we traveled around basically on the back of these like basically dirt bikes on these like dirt roads, and like obviously they weren't paved, nothing's paved, and it's like you're just ripping on these dirt bikes, clinging to the driver for dear life. And there was this one night where this like massive monsoon came through, and we were still about 30 minutes away from our destination on these little back roads. And I thought we were gonna like pull over and wait it out and wait out the storm, because it was raining like it was like worse. I live in Edmonton, man, and the weather here sucks. So I know bad weather, and that was like the worst rain I have ever experienced in my life. And this dude was just flooring it, and we were like hitting jumps, and like this guy wasn't stopping, and I was like, I'm definitely gonna die. And like I don't know how we made it back safe, but like I don't think I've ever had a moment in my life where my life flashed before my eyes, and that was definitely the one. And I still have dreams about that moment sometimes, so it's definitely like burned into my psyche now. So that's probably the craziest like thing that's ever happened to me while I was away on some sort of music related trip.
I mean, that sounds pretty crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm too big to be jumping on the back of a dirt bike and doing things like that. So I
Yeah,
probably
man.
would have died.
No helmets, nothing. It was just straight. Yeah, it was scary.
So one of my final questions for you, and I think this one hits home with a lot of people. What is something you wish that people, or like people in interviews or fans, asked you that they never do?
Whoa, that. um, that's a really great question, and I wish I had more time to think about that.
I usually stump people with this one.
You totally stumped me. A question that we wished we got asked that we don't get asked enough.
It could be something that people don't know about you, or something you just wish that was out in the public a little bit more.
Maybe like why is it that you do what you do? Like what is it that gets you out of bed every morning and makes you decide that like, I'm gonna go make music today, and I'm gonna go, like what is it that motivates you to do that? Like why is it that you
Well,
do
what motivates you?
that? Oh man, I kind of knew you were gonna say that.
I mean,
I
you
feel
brought
like
that upon yourself.
I
So.
did, I totally did. I walked right into the trap that I set myself. For me, I think it's a lot about like I was never super great at many things growing up. Like school was always a struggle for me. I really, really had to work my butt off to do well. And it was just constantly feeling inadequate growing up, and like I'm not measuring up to the standards of the people around me. And music was just always that one thing that I felt that I was a little bit better at than all my peers. And I just honestly I've just felt like there's nothing else that I could do, and I've done a lot of stuff. I've tried a lot of different things. I've worked a lot of jobs. I went to university for 5 years and graduated, and worked in my field for 2 years. So like I've I've done a lot of things that society has told me that I have to do, and I've never felt fulfilled from any of those things. I've never felt that I was doing the right thing. I always wanted to be doing music, and now that I'm finally actually doing music every day, I actually feel like I'm for once in my life in my element, and I'm actually like doing the thing that I feel like I was designed to do. So like um yeah, I think that's for me the reason why I do it, because I'm like, if not this, then what? I couldn't name any alternate option. I couldn't name a single plan B that I would have if music were to fall through the cracks. So I think for me, that's probably the biggest motivator every single day, is that I'm very blessed and fortunate to be able to wake up every morning and make music from the time I wake up till the time I go to sleep. And I really just don't want to squander that and take it for granted. So
Nice. I think I can actually mirror you in that sense a bit too. I've done quite a few things and still do quite a few things, but creating content is what I want to do.
nice,
That's kind of it. Like I'm primarily a photographer, but obviously
nice.
with COVID I had to transition this a bit. But
Yeah,
no, I can, that one really rings home to me too, I think.
nice.
So that's pretty much it I have from you. We do have a recorded performance from you, which is awesome. We're going to make sure to add that to the back of this. Do you want to kind of give everybody a little idea what we're in for?
Yeah, it's the alt acoustic, more R&B version of This Party Sucks. I always try to make a bit of a different spin on all of my very pop production heavy songs, and I really really like how this one turned out. So I'm excited for you to hear it.
Yeah, and I think everyone's gonna really be excited for that one.
Thank you.
So we'll sign off now. We're gonna make sure we get everyone the links of everything to make sure they follow you. But is there any last words you want to give to fans?
Yeah, I mean, just keep your head up. I mean, I hope we're on the back end of this pandemic, and just try to have empathy towards your friends and your family right now, because I feel like nobody really knows what they're doing, and we're all kind of just trying to make it through as best as we can. So just be kind, and that's it.
Awesome. I mean, that's what everyone should be doing for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for taking the time to chat with us again. This is kind of like our round 2, and hopefully we'll have a round 3 at some point with some new
Absolutely.
stuff from you. And love to chat with you again at any point.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Awesome. You enjoy the rest of your day,
You as
and
well.
we'll talk to you another time.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
I don't really like it here. Fake friends, better on the internet. Girls taking pictures with girls they don't like. Guys talk it up like they know a good time. Yeah, you said that you're going anyways. I'm stupid, wanting you forever, babe. My friends just say that you're leading me on. Maybe they're right or we're proving them wrong. You got my attention. Let's ride all this tension. Anything to be close to you, yeah. Girl, there ain't no pressure. Let's go somewhere better. Tell me that you're feeling it too. Girl, this party sucks, so let's not think too much. Say the word, I'm gonna follow, baby. Tell me that you wanna be your after party. Got me drunk, sipping on your love. Say the word, I'm gonna follow, baby. Tell me that you wanna be your after party. Baby, I just wanna change your plans tonight. Tell me what you're feeling, what's your appetite. They don't need to know we're gone. Let's have a party on our own. We could order sushi to my home address. Talk about whatever till it's 4 a.m. We could kick it with the TV on. Yeah, I just wanna love you till the morning comes. You got my attention. Let's ride all this tension. Anything to be close to you, yeah. Girl, there ain't no pressure. Let's go somewhere better. Tell me that you're feeling it too. Girl, this party sucks, so let's not think too much. Say the word, I'm gonna follow, baby. Tell me that you wanna. I'll be your after party. Got me drunk, sipping on your love. Say the word, I'm gonna follow, baby. Tell me that you wanna. I'll be your after party. After the party. After the party.